Tonight, peacetime change. Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva identifies the army as a considerable partner in Sri Lanka's post-war nation-building process. Dual speak? British Prime Minister Boris Johnson sets out two-state solution for Sri Lanka in Tory election manifesto. Prove it. Swiss Foreign Secretary calls on the government to prove discrepancies in embassy kidnap story. Time to avail. Pakistan has its heart set on enhancing trade and investment with Sri Lanka.
The framework is there. You need to utilize it. When I was talking to the Foreign Minister, I said, when you do come to Islamabad, bring a trade delegation with you.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Tuesday, the 3rd of December, 2019.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
මේ සීන් එකෙන් කට් වෙන්න ඇන්ටිජර් මවුත් වොෂ් සමගින් එන ක්ලෝස් අප් ජෙල් එක ස්ටෝරි එක ස්ටාර්ට් කරන්න.
Hi.
Hi.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanayaka. Let's start with your local stories. Now, issuing an extraordinary Gazette notification, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa suspended the Parliament yesterday. Now, according to that, Parliament will be reopened on the 3rd of January next year. Now, in the meantime, former chairman of the Committee on Public Enterprises, Parliamentarian Sunil Handunethi, has instructed the forensic audit reports of the central bank bond scam to be kept at the COPE Secretariat as a confidential report until the establishment of the next Committee on Public Enterprises. Now, the former COPE chairman stated that as instructed by the Attorney General, these reports can be used only by the COPE members and should be used solely for legal purposes, whilst emphasising that measures will be taken to keep the reports confidential. Accordingly, the former chairperson stated that the forensic accounts have been kept classified and instructions have been given to COPE Secretariat, with future members who will be appointed to COPE having the capability of taking matters forward without hindrance. The COPE, which was set to meet today, was cancelled due to the prorogation of the Parliament.
ජෙල් සීන් ඇක්ෂන් ඇන්ටිජර් මවුත් වොෂ් සමගින් එන ක්ලෝස් අප් ජෙල් එක ස්ටෝරි එක ස්ටාර්ට් කරන්න.
Now, Britain is set to go for polls on the 12th of this month under chaotic circumstances, with Brexit in particular hanging in the balance. With that being the case, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's Conservative Party, just as done by rival Labour Party, touches on Sri Lanka in its election manifesto. Now, unlike Labour's, the message included in the Conservatives' policy document is rather severe, backing what it calls a two-state solution in Sri Lanka. Now, it says, quote, "We will continue to support international initiatives to achieve reconciliation, stability and justice across the world and in current or former conflict zones such as Cyprus, Sri Lanka and the Middle East, where we maintain our support for the two-state solution." Now, the terrorist group LTTE fought a 3-decade-long war with Sri Lankan government forces in an attempt to create a separate state in the north and east. The British Conservative Party endorses the terrorists' bidding by backing a two-state solution in Sri Lanka. Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party manifesto, meanwhile, read that the party will work through UN and Commonwealth to insist on protection of human rights for Sri Lanka's minority Tamil and Muslim populations.
දරුවාගේ අස්ථි ප්‍රතිශක්තිකරණ පද්ධතිය සහ මානසික ක්‍රියා නිසි පරිදි පවත්වාගෙන යාමට දායක වන කැල්සියම්, විටමින් C සහ යකඩ අඩංගු මයිලෝ සමගින් පෝෂණයෙන් ඉදිරියට.
ෆ්‍රිජ් සඳහා 30% දක්වා වට්ටම්. දිවයින පුරා Soflogic සහ Soflogic Max ප්‍රදර්ශනාගාරවලින්.
Now, Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva, in an interview with Editor-in-Chief of Bharat Shakti, Nitin Gokhale, says that Army's new post-war role will remain in line with the new government's development vision, with nation-building and continued reconciliation measures taking the centre stage. He also accused LTT backers of being behind the human rights allegations levelled at the Sri Lanka Army, as peacetime gives them no opportunity to profit of the Tamil community.
Yeah, as you know, that we have done over the years, we have done lots of reintegration was done with the cadres. Then we are helping the reconciliation process hugely, and also rebuilding the area there. We have given lots of support by way of human resource, and also our officers by our formations units. They also have got a lot of aids, support, sponsorships from various, our interests, what we have got. And we have built houses, we have supported the water systems and the building of the roads, all sort of things. Not only that, for even education. So all these areas, the army is supporting to ensure that these are our own people, and they are the people who are affected. So mostly affected. It does not mean only they affected, even the southern parts everywhere. It was not only one area. Sri Lanka had this thing, entire country was affected.
And the Western media and human rights organizations keep talking about that in the last phase of the Ilam War 4, there were huge human rights violations and you didn't bother about civilian lives, all that. And that still continues in some ways or the other.
First of all, one must understand that these are stories given by the sympathizers and also maybe the guys who are supporting the LTT, that I believe. And all these allegations are baseless allegations. Who are the people who talks about? These are the people, honestly, during the war that we had, all these families who were in Sri Lanka, they had to give some money to people who are living in certain countries who are talking about this.
That's right.
And certain agencies, they got money from each and every family. Certain countries, they come in the morning to collect their amount that they are supposed to pay for this organization. So all that has been dried up.
Right.
Now, where are they now?
Yeah.
Basically, they are wounded abroad.
Yeah.
They are wounded and they have no way of getting money because there's peace in Sri Lanka.
Right.
Now, following presenting of evidence disputing the Swiss Embassy's version of events with regard to the alleged kidnapping and intimidation of a local staff member last month, the Swiss government's Federal Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Pascal Berswil, has called for a further explanation of the evidence provided, while expressing fullest support for the government's investigation and resolution of the matter by due process of law, should remain non-committal on investigators' request for an interview of the victim citing continued health issues. In this backdrop, the Colombo Chief Magistrate ordered an overseas travel ban on the alleged victim until the 9th, adding that it is absolutely necessary to record a statement from the purported victim. The senior state counsel, appearing on behalf of the CID, told court today that every attempt made to contact the alleged victim proved futile and it is indispensable to record a statement from the person involved in the incident in order to verify the veracity of the facts.
The incident involving the alleged abduction and intimidation of a Swiss embassy staffer on the 25th of November has sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles, with the government launching an immediate investigation into the incident, even though a formal statement or entry has not been recorded by the victim. Following the reporting of the incident on a Swiss website and widely publicized in local media, the Embassy of Switzerland in Colombo called on the government to take immediate action to investigate the matter. Sri Lanka's Secretary of Defence, retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne, and Secretary to the Ministry of Foreign Relations Ravinatha Aryasinghe met with the Swiss ambassador last week, presenting the outcome of initial investigations carried out by the Criminal Investigations Department. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that during the meeting, the ambassador was presented with clear evidence that the sequence of events and timeline of the alleged incident, as formally presented by the Swiss mission to the CID on behalf of the alleged victim, did not in any way correspond with the actual movements of the alleged victim on that date. With that being the case, Switzerland's State Secretary for Foreign Affairs Pascal Beriswil issued a statement disputing and calling for further explanation of evidence presented to the Swiss ambassador by Sri Lanka's Secretaries of Foreign Affairs and Defence. The statement, however, expressed support for all measures of the government to investigate and resolve the matter by due process of law, with no word on when the victim could present herself for a formal statement, citing continued health issues. Meanwhile, adding her voice to calls for Chairperson of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, Dr. Deepika Udugama, also called on Acting Inspector General of Police C.D. Vikramaratne to conduct a thorough and impartial investigation into the incident, stating that not only must justice be done on behalf of the young woman who may be traumatized by the abduction, but also call on the authorities to address the larger issue of the need to reassure the public. State Minister for Investment Promotion Keheliya Rambukwella meanwhile weighed in on recent statements made by MP Dr. Rajitha Senaratne on the incident.
Rajitha Senaratne the former minister comes and says that this particular person, somebody has put the automatic pistol into her mouth and she is under pressure and she is basically in a coma. So obviously, Rajitha is aware where she is. First thing is that she must be given medical treatment. And for that medical treatment, she has to be brought to the hospital. And it is a responsibility of this so-called the health minister, the former health minister, to advocate that. And it is his responsibility now and the responsibility of the law enforcement groups make sure that he is taken into custody and questioned where is this lady and to make statements and to facilitate this investigation. Make sure that justice prevails by making a statement and getting her to make that statement of what this drama is all about and let the law enforcement groups to act upon according to their statements and take the culprits or the perpetrators or the perpetrator to custody. And that is the best thing that they can do.
Now, China and Sri Lanka have agreed to speed up the implementation of cooperation on major economic projects, including the Hambantota port, under the existing consensus. It comes in a statement released by the Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka. Now, the embassy says that during a visit by former Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Wu Jianghao, who visited Sri Lanka as the representative of Chinese State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi, China and Sri Lanka have agreed to further strengthen robust political trust between the two countries and upgrade their pragmatic cooperation. According to the embassy, the two countries will speed up implementation of cooperation on big economic projects, including the Colombo port city and the Hambantota port, under the existing consensus, and on that basis draw up and promote a new blueprint for future cooperation. During his stay in the country, Wu had paid separate calls on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, as well as other Sri Lankan leaders. Now, in the meantime, State Minister of Investment Promotion Kelly Rambukwella reiterates the new government's intentions to revisit foreign agreements which it believes are lopsided. Addressing a media briefing today, the State Minister that is insisted that the Hambantota port agreement with China will be revisited.
Go through the whole thing, we find that some of the agreements are seriously disadvantageous to us, and we need to revisit all those. We feel the port port agreement needs a revisiting. Hambantota port. We feel that Edgar and then the Singapore, we feel there are certain areas where we need to revisit and renegotiate. As human beings, as countries, I believe that there will be a lot of cooperation extended by even the international community for this. Because we are not going to go on haphazardly. It is a question of placing facts before our other party, whoever the party is, and ask them whether if they were in our position, what would they do?
Now, following his election win, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has been having audiences with foreign high commissioners, ambassadors. Now, the latest to meet Sri Lankan head of state are the two envoys from the United Arab Emirates and New Zealand. In all of the dialogue, foreign envoys have held with the president. Commitment to further strengthening bilateral relations was the champion.
Ambassador of the United Arab Emirates to Sri Lanka called on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today and assured commitment to work together in further strengthening ties between the two countries. The ambassador expressed his appreciation over President's plan of action while promising fullest support to make it a success. Meanwhile, the New Zealand High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Joanna Kempers, also had an audience with President Rajapaksa. During talks, the High Commissioner assured the commitment to strengthening ties between the two countries and enhance mutual benefit. In the meantime, the Public Relations Division of the Prime Minister's office was declared open this morning in Colombo.
විශේෂයෙන්ම ඊළඟට ඒක කෙරුණාද නැද්ද කියලා සොයා බැලීම කර කිරීම ඒ වගේම මහජනයා විශාල සංඛ්‍යාවක් දැන් එනවා හම්බ වෙන්න මාව හම්බ වෙන්න නිලධාරි හම්බ වෙන්න මම ඊයේ වෙනකොට 60 ගාණක් ඇවිල්ලා හිටියා ලවර් රෝඩ් එකට ගෙදරට 100ක් විතර ඇවිල්ලා හිටියා ඒ නිසා සියලු දෙනාටම පහසු වෙන්න මේ ස්ථානය සකස් කරලා මේ මහජනයා හා සම්බන්ධ කටයුතු ඉටු කිරීම තමයි අපි මෙතන මේ කාර්යාලයෙන් කෙරෙන්නේ. ඉතින් මම හිතනවා මේක අපි පුරුදු වෙන්න කරන එකකුත් නෙවෙයි. පෞද්ගලික කාලෙත් අපි මේක කරා. ඉතින් මම හිතනවා මේක වඩා සාර්ථකව කිරීම තමයි වැදගත් වෙන්නේ කියලා.
We'll see you again after this short break. Bear with us. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the Department of Meteorology warns an increase in the rainy conditions over the northern, eastern, north central and Uva provinces as well as the central province during the next couple of days. Issuing a statement, the department highlights that heavy showers above 150 millimetres are likely at some places in Trincomalee, Batticaloa, Amparam, Mullaitivu, Nuwara as well as Badulla and the Monoragala districts. Now, the latest situation report of the Disaster Management Centre places the number of people affected by the adverse weather conditions close to 15,000 persons across 4,252 families.
Batticaloa was the most affected due to the heavy downpour in the eastern province. Over the past 24 hours, rains fell in excess of 150 millimetres in Kiran of Batticaloa. A total of 5,774 persons belonging to 1,651 families in the district are affected by the adverse weather conditions, with roads in areas such as Manmune, Kathankudi and Koralepattu being underwater. Heavy rains in the north central province meanwhile forced 2 spill gates of the Kalaveva tank to be opened. As a result, the stretch of road from Aukana to Kakirava is submerged. Spill gates of Tisaveva tank was also opened due to rising water levels. 2 spill gates in Angamur Reservoir and 10 out of 31 spill gates in Rajangane Reservoir are now open. In the meantime, the machinery brought to construct the new bridge on the Malvatu lane in Anuradhapura was seen caught in the currents. A small bowser among them was washed away for about 300 feet and was seen in a paddy field near Jetavana, Ramaya. With the opening of the spill gates of the Nachaduva Reservoir, over 200 acres of paddy fields are inundated. In the meantime, a house in the Damuluhalmillavava village in Anuradhapura collapsed owing to the inclement weather. In Polonnaruwa, the river Mahavali is overflowing, leaving the entrance to the sacred premises of Somavatiya temple submerged. Meanwhile, 49 people from 9 families have been evacuated to safer locations due to risk of landslides in the areas of Galahagama and Uvaparanagama in Badulla. Elsewhere, search operations continue in the area of Valapane to locate the 15-year-old boy who was reported missing after a landslide engulfed his house amidst heavy fog and rains. 3 of his family members perished in the incident. Area residents protested blocking the Padiyapalala road in the area of Narantalava today, demanding immediate closure of the rock quarry, which they claim caused the landslide.
Now, the Swiss Federal Court has ruled that the Tamil Tigers are not a criminal organisation and has acquitted 12 people of charges filed by the Office of Attorney General. In its indictment, the Attorney General had accused the suspects of violating the Swiss Penal Code by raising funds for the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Elam between 1999 and 2009. After its 9-year investigation, the OAG suspected the accused of financially supporting the World Tamil Coordinating Committee. In June 2018, the Federal Criminal Court found that the hierarchical link between the LTT and WTCC could not be sufficiently established. Now, the judges also felt that there was not enough proof to consider the LTT a criminal group. Deputy Secretary to the Treasury AdaDerana has been appointed as the acting chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Before he assumed duties of his current position as Deputy Secretary to the Treasury, he worked as Director General of National Budget Department. He is also serving as a member of the Insurance Board of Sri Lanka and Director to the Board of Regional Development Bank. Pakistani Minister of Foreign Affairs Shah Mahmood Qureshi calls Sri Lanka to avail itself of mutually beneficial economic opportunities offered by Pakistan. Now speaking to Indivri Amuatta on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, the visiting foreign minister expressed belief that bilateral trade between Sri Lanka and Pakistan can be doubled in the shortest possible time.
I'd like to know what designs you have to foster greater economic prosperity and also for the existing free trade agreement to be more useful for the people of both nations.
We have a free trade agreement with Sri Lanka. In fact, it was the first free trade agreement Pakistan signed with any country. We have not made full use of it. What we sat and discussed was how to make use of it. The framework is there. We need to utilize it. In order to utilize that, we need to get the two private sectors engaged. When I was talking to the Foreign Minister, I said, please, when you do come to Islamabad, bring a trade delegation with you who are dealing with Pakistan, who have trading interests in Pakistan. The governments can put frameworks in place. The private sectors have to take advantage of those mechanisms that are in place. We have not been able to fully utilize the mechanism in place. Time has come that we do it.
Do you think there is a potential to achieve the kind of expectations that you have discussed?
Absolutely. I think in the shortest possible time, with just better understanding and interaction, bilateral trade between Sri Lanka and Pakistan can be doubled.
And what of investments? Are we looking at any interest from Pakistani entrepreneurs and businessmen for either joint ventures or maybe investments in Sri Lanka?
Investments we offer. There are good prospects for cement and sugar industry. Pakistani investors would be more than happy to come and invest here, gain from it, and Sri Lanka can prosper from it. So it's a mutually win-win situation. The ball is in your court. Avail it.
The government cautions that this year's fiscal deficit could reach 7% of GDP, largely result of a slow economic growth, but pledges to make a concerted effort in what it says to recalibrate its operations along a sustainable deficit reduction path towards 4% of GDP in the minimum term. Or medium term, that is. It also says that there would be, or could be rather, what it termed moderate inflation owing to prices of most goods and services reducing as a result of the removal of nation building tax and the reduction of value-added tax.
The Ministry of Finance expects this year's fiscal deficit to reach 7% of the country's GDP. The Finance Ministry attributed this to a significant dip in revenue than expected, mainly due to slow growth and increase in election-related spending. In a media communique, the ministry said, quote, the government will make a concerted effort to recalibrate its operations along a sustainable deficit reduction path towards 4% of GDP in the medium term, together with the rationalization of the debt stock to manageable levels, unquote. The communique went on to say that the series of measures to re-engineer Sri Lanka's tax policy framework was introduced with a view to creating a simple, transparent and efficient tax system that will promote self-compliance and easy tax administration. The ministry also noted that the budget deficit too has exceeded the announced fiscal target. Moreover, the government has observed that with low growth in credit and monetary aggregates along with underperforming economy, there is leeway to provide a substantial fiscal and credit stimulus to increase aggregate demand in the economy. Calling the move timely as it stimulates economic activities and eases public tax burdens while creating a conducive planning and investment environment for the private sector, it expects more economic activities to be generated in the short to medium term. It also says that the removal of nation-building tax and the reduction of value-added tax to 8% will reduce prices of most goods and services, which will also result in moderate inflation.
Sri Lankan shares closed nearly unchanged today, hovering near a 17-month high hit in the previous session, with the benchmark stock index closing largely unchanged at 6,214.99. The Bourse gained 1.5% last week and is up 2.69% for the year. Foreign investors were net buyers in the equity market for the second time in 6 sessions today, after being net sellers for 24 sessions out of 26. They bought a net 81.6 million rupees worth of shares, but the market has suffered a net foreign outflow of 10.6 billion rupees worth of equities so far this year. Equity market turnover was 946.6 million rupees, more than this year's daily average of around 726 million rupees. Last year's daily average was 834 million rupees. Now here's a look at how the markets performed today, as well as a look at the Sri Lankan rupee.
The bond market yield curve remained almost unchanged amidst mixed activities, while overall market witnessed thin volumes ahead of the tomorrow's B-lock. Stock market concluded the day in red, mainly dragged down by SLTL and CTC, negating the positive sentiment witnessed in previous 5 trading sessions. Crossings took place pertaining to CFIN, contributed 8% of the turnover.
Now then, there was an unlikely success for Sri Lanka today, with a makeshift athlete bagging gold in the women's 1,500-metre event at the South Asian Games.
Nilani Ratnayaka brought Sri Lanka gold in the women's 1,500-metre event at the South Asian Games, worked off in Kathmandu of Nepal. After a close battle, she crossed the line in 4 minutes 34.34 seconds. Nilani's participation on the 1,500-metre event was not a planned one, as she only entered the contest owing to an injury sustained by the event designate Nimali Lianarachi. She was only due to take part in the 3,000-metre hurdles and the 5,000-metre events. In the meantime, Himashay Shan brought some silver in the men's 100-metre event, crossing the line in 10.5 seconds. The fastest athlete in the 2016 South Asian Games missed out on gold by only 0.1 seconds. There were 2 more medals for Sri Lanka in the women's 100-metre sprint event, with Amasha De Silva bagging the silver and Lakshika Sugandhi securing the bronze. In the women's high jump, Dulanjali Ranasinghe won a silver medal for Sri Lanka. In the meantime, women's 10,000-metre event also saw a medal for Sri Lanka, with Nilanthi Lanka crossing the line for a bronze medal. As things stand, Sri Lanka has a tally of 38 medals at this year's South Asian Games, with 5 golds, 13 silvers and 20 bronze medals.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.